Hello everyone, and welcome to the Chivalry 2 Weapon Academy. In this installment of the series, we'll be going over the newest weapon added to Chivalry 2, the Heavy Cavalry Sword. The Heavy Cavalry Sword is a medium damage, long range, yet low speed weapon. Although this weapon is cavalry focused, it serves well as an extremely draggable one-handed weapon with decent utility. Its massive range, along with its wide sweeping attacks, allow for a pleasant experience when fighting crowds, and its low speed makes it a powerhouse for dragging. This versatility, being available on the Man-at-Arms and Guardian subclasses, makes it very accessible. Its slow speed allows for very good swing manipulation against highly skilled opponents, assisted by its massive range. It also allows for a larger counter window and extended active parry. Although the damage is quite mediocre compared to some of the better one-handed options, this weapon still boasts similar hit-to-kill on Footman and Vanguard. The special on the Cavalry Sword also mimics the Mace and Axe special. Despite being quite unoriginal, this animation is extremely potent, and dishes out quite a powerful attack which could be blended well into your combos. The positives don't end there, as all of that stuff is just the bonus to what is actually an amazingly powerful tool, meant to be combined with cavalry. When on horseback, the Heavy Cavalry Sword adapts entirely new animations with increased speeds that deal massive damage. This weapon is also one of 4 weapons which have a unique special attack on horseback, with this one of course having the most powerful option, a couched thrust which acts as an active hitbox that can cleave through multiple enemies assuming they don't block. As awesome as this weapon is, it does have its weaknesses. The damage on this sword is fairly low compared to its predecessors. And while I said that the time to kill is similar on Footman and Vanguard, you'd start to notice the shortcomings when fighting knights, which, unfortunately, is the most popular class in the game. The speed is also a point of contention. While many believe it to be a strength, and which I believe as well, it's important to highlight the slow DPS that results from the delayed wind-up and release windows of this weapon. Unlike the Falchion, Mace, or Morningstar, you aren't rewarded with more damage for slower speeds. While the weapon thrives with its slow attacks, it may take you longer than most other weapons to finish someone off. So how do you play around these strengths and weaknesses? When using the Heavy Cavalry Sword on land, you should utilize wide, sweeping heavy attacks to target as many people simultaneously as possible. The range of the Heavy Cavalry Sword is often a pleasant surprise, hitting people you didn't expect to reach and then some. This is because the weapon is the longest one-hander that has a swinging animation. Poking crowds on the front line has never been easier. One-handed weapons are typically built for one-on-one engagements, but because of the speed and damage of the Heavy Cavalry Sword, fights will be prolonged. So fighting many people at once to utilize your range and swing manipulation is definitely the way to go. Your extended counter window should assist you in these 1vx situations as well. If you happen to be caught up in a 1v1 situation though, I believe a great tactic to end fights quickly is to integrate special attacks into your combos. The special on Heavy Cavalry Sword is definitely intuitive to land, and is also its strongest attack. The animation is also relatively quick, at least compared to the rest of your attacks. Entering fights from afar is also a breeze with the Man-at-Arms sprint charge. Most Man-at-Arms sprint charges are fairly mediocre, but the increased range of the Heavy Cavalry Sword allows for you to enter into a battle with a solid chunk of damage. It's a great conversation starter for most fights. Also, drag. This weapon has the best drags out of any one-handed weapon in the game. The incredibly slow drags and fairly quick overheads can be surprisingly effective in a competitive match. I don't personally think that the dragability of this weapon is good enough to really compare to something like the Greatsword or Messer, but it's definitely close. All of these strategies can be combined to improve your impact when you're inevitably going to charge into the meat grinder that is Chivalry 2's frontline. But let's talk about the main function of this weapon, the cavalry gameplay. When on horseback, the Heavy Cavalry Sword adopts a new moveset along with a unique special attack. This is where the weapon shines brightest. Its exceptional damage with its extremely fast attacks that sweep low allow this weapon to stand out as an amazing option when playing on cavalry. While I wouldn't say the Cavalry Sword is as potent as the halberd or spear, it offers an alternative playstyle characterized by targeted hunting of stray players. Its role differs from the polearms that can sweep through large crowds. There is no easier way to handle archers than with this sword. But don't be mistaken, just because I don't think this weapon is as good as the halberd at killing crowds, doesn't mean it's not good at all. The unique special on horseback allows the Heavy Cavalry Sword to be couched, performing a forward thrust that stays as an active hitbox. This attack is extremely powerful, and more importantly, easy to use. Overall, the Heavy Cavalry Sword is an incredibly unique weapon, which has earned lots of favor with the player base due to it being the first niche weapon that still functions normally outside of its specialization. It's definitely the most draggable one-handed weapon, and for that reason, it has become an instant classic. This weapon is already one of my favorites, and I can't wait to use it more in the future.